Hello, everyone, and welcome to this podcast from the Light Review. And today we're going to be looking at Inventronics. Inventronics, as we are learning, is the new name for OSRAM DS. And representing OSRAM today, we have Mark G. Hello, Mark. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good to hear it. And Ben Brunton from Prime Controls has joined us because what we want to talk about in this one is the process of how we get from, I don't know, what should we say, piece of driver, a piece of kit in a catalogue on the screen into the real world, and what it is that people like Ben are looking for in not just a product, but also the company behind the product. So, Ben, let's start off with a little bit of history. You, Clearly, you wouldn't be sitting here if you weren't using, let's say, Osram products.
Yeah,
Because we can still say Osram products, can't we, Mark? That's still
well,
that's
we can say that. Yes, we
we
can.
can still say that. So what was it what was it that brought you down this path, Ben?
Yeah, so Prime Light traditionally has always worked with kind of bigger names in the industry. So one of the first companies we ever started dealing with was BJB, obviously big company, good name. And I think over the years, what we've realised is that you can try and go to the cheap end of the market. You can try and bring in products that might say they have certain standards and they're DALI 2 and they're DALI and they're all these sort of good things because I think it's very easy to just put that on a product, but without actually knowing the testing process, etc., that they go through, um, you're never entirely sure. So, we had our fingers stung a couple of times trying to do that, and then I think we got to a point where we said, look, we actually just need to work with a big company that we can really put our trust in, but also has great products and can provide a really good service to us. And at first we had the initial conversations that started around the wireless products that we do with these guys at Inventronics, and then that moved into the boards, the drivers, and basically the whole range of products behind it. Knowing that we've got the backing of effectively now two really large businesses that have come together. But we get great support from Dino over at Inventronics, and then we basically know that the product that we're going to supply is going to work. It's going to do what it says, and it's going to last the time that it should. I think it's very easy nowadays to throw various warranties and things out there, and I've had it before where a company that was 6 months old were offering 7 years with 5 years on-site warranties, and a customer will believe it because they think they've offered it, so they have to live up to it. And the reality
Yeah.
is that they don't. So for us, it was all about working with a really good, strong name in the industry that everyone knows. I think you've got the big three, and Inventronics, OSRAM is one of those. And just giving us peace of mind that the product we sell is going to work, because if it doesn't, rectification costs can start to get incredibly expensive, and effectively you're going to lose a customer. And the cost of winning customers nowadays, if you lose them, it's just going to push your business backwards. So that's where it originally came from, and we've just built it out from there. And I think what surprises us more than anything is, as we go through this catalogue of products, is how many products they have that are really, really very clever, and maybe a little bit hidden away when we've done training days with Mark and his team and Jason, and we just sit there and we think, why are more people not using these? They're really smart, smart bits of kit. I've worked for very big companies before, and sometimes it's hard to advertise everything you do. And part of that for us is going through and just, yeah, seeing all the good stuff there, and it just does what it says on the tin, which is what we want as a business, really.
Okay. Well, hey, that's pretty comprehensive. Absolutely. My position. I mean, I'm here not just as the sort of publisher of the Light Review, but also, hey, I'm a practicing lighting designer. And what one day I hope I'm going to get it right. But meanwhile, we scramble along. I come into this from the conversations I have with my clients, and so I end up with a brief which hasn't come out of I don't want to be. I'm not trying to be rude in the way I'd say this, but there's design which is sort of catalog driven. Luminaire, yeah, okay, like Luminaire catalogs more than anything else. And then there's that thing you go, well, this is what we're trying to do, but we're not quite sure how to do it. What do you reckon? And I look at them and go, well, I'm sure that's just a conversation away. We'll soon get that. So one for Mark maybe. Mark, when I come along and I go, um, I know that we can do this and we can do that and we can do the rest, because that's fairly clear from work that we see. But I've got this requirement where it seems a bit odd to me, and you end up with something completely that's non-standard. Am I just as a pain at the bottom at that point, and you go, oh no, he's done it again, or is that just the start of a process for you guys? You go, there will be an answer. It may not be a stock answer, but there is an answer.
Yeah, pretty much. If you think about it, we as Osram and Osram DS and as now Inventronics, we supply components to OEMs. Is our majority business, and that means we've got all the components, boards, drivers, uh, a flexible tape, etc., controls, to enable an OEM to put together a luminaire that will then work for them.
So Ben, here am I, the specifying designer, having these crazy conversations with my clients. I guess I suppose I should be coming to you really because you're the ones who's putting the actual solutions together
Yeah.
that we see in the real world. So how does that work? How do you hold my hand and bring me to salvation, shall we say, in this sort of thing?
Yeah, well, I think there's two. I think the market's ever changing, and one of these is becoming far more prevalent that we're seeing is the retrofit market with people that don't want to just get a brand new install and a brand new set of lights, and what they want to do is take what they've got. Maybe it's a bespoke light fitting. Maybe they want to be more eco-friendly, and what they're saying is, right, I've got this effectively a coffin, and I want to put something in that's equivalent to what I've had before. And one of the things that we've just done and just taken a really nice order for is about 5,000 light fittings in a corporate head office across four buildings. They've got very bespoke light fittings, and what they wanted to do is LED refit. And effectively, we've done the full OSRAM suite of boards, drivers, and lighting controls in there, whilst the customer gets to keep their original light fittings. And what we've done there is we've taken the original lumen output, we've taken the color temperature they want and what they want to achieve. So we take that end goal and then we work backwards from there. So we know where we want to get to, and then all we have to do is say, okay, right, so what output do we need? We've got these huge variation of boards, so we can always make the lengths fit. We may need 4 different types of boards, but that's fine because we're not static. And then we know which driver we need to run, or if it's an emergency, we're going to put a smart node in there as well to run that. And we just work it all the way backwards. And using some of the tools we've got, we can say where we want to be. And then the Inventronics website effectively tells us what we need within that. I'm no driver expert. Controls is probably my thing, but even I can go on there and find out what we need. So that's becoming quite a big part of what we do. So instead of you starting here, we've got that end client saying, look, this is where we want to be. Working backwards, we our predominant customer base is OEMs, and I think we service about 3,500 of them. And what our team will do is we go in and see those guys like yourselves, and you normally know roughly where you want to be. I want a product and I want it to do this. And what we then do is we just have multiple options that can get you there. And it might be, we've got this real high end quantum dot technology, which is the best of the best, and it gives you, really high CRIs and efficiencies, but maybe it wants to be a more efficient product and it's going for a different price range. So actually we could just use this COB technology, or we could use this, which is a bit cheaper way of doing it. But, generally what we do is we sit there and we work out where you want to get to and work it backwards. I think the beauty of having a huge range of products is there's normally always going to be something that can get you there. You're not having to go sort of a halfway house and have to sort of sacrifice something.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things what we really found is just we've predominantly had 5 driver manufacturers. We get boards from 3 different places, and the problem is you're constantly flicking through catalogs and different websites, and it was taking us 4 or 5 hours just to find the right set of products in the end. And I think since we've started working with Mark and his team, it's just go to one place and generally can find it and just work it back from there.
Okay.
Which
You've
is
you've
really
just you've just taken us to a place, and I didn't realise we were going to go there. And
sorry.
that's the whole the retrofit, the remanufacture, if you like, the big conversation of the day, which is so important. And Mark, I hadn't. Maybe this is just a little bit of ignorance on my part, and I'll put my hand up to that. I hadn't associated the work that OSRAM was doing with the work that Ben has just been describing. But I get. Does it matter to you whether it's a brand new fitting or whether it's a repurposed fitting?
No, absolutely not. Now, I've attended the circular economy seminars twice, and I think at least one of the remanufacturing, probably 2 of those actually, remanufacturing seminars. And it's apparent to me, it became very apparent to me, because we primarily supply components to OEMs to enable them to make up a luminaire in whatever design they want. We supply boards, as Ben said, we supply constant current drivers, constant voltage drivers, flexible tape, and controls. So we've got the whole portfolio in our portfolio to enable remanufacturing, and that's why we've attended those, because we see it as a potential opportunity for us to move more into that and support people, because there are a lot of people, we've seen that's a massive growth industry, and it should probably be a big growth for the lighting industry going forward. So I see that we've got the components ready to go, so people can then use them and then decide how to retrofit those into other luminaires. And this is exactly what Prime Controls have been doing. You know, they've been going in big end users saying, do you realize the benefits of X, Y, Z? We can retrofit. And some of them, I think, they've only been installed for 2 years and they're being pulled out and drivers replaced with Dali and HubSense, etc. So I do see that I didn't realize this conversation would go there until we started down this route as well. But it is something that it's right up our street, if you like. Because one of our slogans is we don't compete with our customers. So we supply to OEMs, but we don't make luminaires. You know, if you think of all the other big driver manufacturers, they all make luminaires. So every time someone buys a driver off one of those other manufacturers, they're giving a piece of data to their competitors. For us, we don't make luminaires. We just supply components. So when we do not compete with our customer base.
There's a thing here which, if we take it as read that we've got a good product here, that there's no problem with it, we know it's going to do what it says, we know it's going to last. But the issue that is around remanufacturing, repurposing, whatever you want to call it, is life cycle analysis and being able to go back to the client and go, this is what we're going to do for you. You should not need to talk to us again for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, which suggests that, Ben, from your point of view, putting all that documentation together,
Yeah.
you're asking for more than just a box with a lot of components in it. You're actually looking for the supporting documentation, the supply chain stuff that actually reinforces the message that you're giving to your client. So that is another job that our friends at Inventronics will be providing for you, presumably.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's with everything in the world, right? If you go and buy a Samsung and LG TV, you kind of trust them a bit more than the brand that you don't know. So I think especially when you talk to people and you use the name OSRAM or Inventronics, there is generally an acceptance that that's a good product they're going to get and it will last. And we've got all the supporting paperwork behind warranties and lifetime, and I think every single data point that I don't understand that we get given that goes to the customer that shows this product's going to last, and we're going to put you in a position where you're using it the right way as well. I think it was one of the biggest things when I started in the lighting industry about 15 years ago. I know I look far too young for that.
You do.
It used to be pretty simple, right? You'd have a 58 watt ballast, and you just turned it on. That was really simple. You couldn't really get it wrong. But I think nowadays the way you can drive various products and LED boards, and I think a lot of people in the race for efficiency and more lumens per watt are just really overdriving their products. And so a warranty that might be applicable isn't actually applicable when you're driving it far too hard. So as part of that service as well is just ensuring that everything is being used properly when we do this remanufacturing, and that can also include taking that product out and testing it for thermals, because it's great, but if it's massively overheating in there because we've crammed a load of extra LEDs to make it super bright, which may not actually be what the customer wants, we need to make sure that thermally that's okay, it's going to be within standards, and we're not just going to do something that's going to shine really bright and then burn out after a few years. Because I think, especially when LED first hit the market, cheap panels coming in, overdriven, very bright, and now you're starting to see this yellowing and all this across the market. So it's trying to get away from just trying to hit those the numbers that people want to see, which is lumens per watt, which is great, but you actually need context around it a lot of the time, because lumens per watt doesn't really mean anything.
No,
If you've got lumens per watt and you face your LED boards into the back of the fitting, kind of irrelevant because you're not going to get them out. So it's all about usable lumens, right? And how you put a reflector on it. And if I just put a bare LED board with a clear front, it's going to look horrible. So it's all these things that we try and consider when we work with a client, so that we can, with the Inventronics stuff, it's all designed to work together, so it's a bit easier. So it's trying to come up with a solution to a customer, not just, like you said, throw a catalog in front of them and say, pick what you want. We can sort of say, right, we're going to get the right things to create this right luminaire that's going to last. It's going to work how you expect it to, and it's going to work for the time you expect it to.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben. Can I ask? I'm going to push this one to Mark because you just raised I think a serious issue here. When we were first getting used to LEDs, and we'd got companies coming out of the woodwork that we'd never ever heard of before, it was almost as if what was happening is that those companies were using the reputation of the chip manufacturers they were using to support the quality, if there was any, of their tat. Yeah. Now, Mark, are you seeing this? Is this something that you have to police? Are people going out there with, let's just be inferior product, but got OSRAM gear behind it, but as Ben says, it being overdriven, over bright, doing too much, and failing early? Is that something that you actually need to keep an eye on? Or have I just set a hair running that I shouldn't have gone to?
Right, right. I don't. We don't see that on a day-to-day basis. We deal with the major OEMs, well, all OEMs, but most of them, particularly, it's a UK in the UK market, are, they're making reasonably good quality products, and I think what they do is they buy good quality chips, whether that be from AMS Osram or from someone else, and then they drive them with quality drivers. And yes, of course, there are some people who will put in very low-end drivers to drive low-end chips, etc. But it's not something we need to sort of monitor because we're constantly selling the benefits of the quality, if you like. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't knock our competitors; they have equally good quality products. Just there's different features, of course, and different ways about it. But if you buy off one of the major three or four manufacturers, you're going to get a reasonable quality result at the end of the day.
I've always made that point. That if you're doing a good job, then we're all on the same side.
Yeah.
You can knock lumps out at one another commercially if you're trying to win a job, but everybody knows that everybody around that table is doing a good job, and that is so important. I'm think, Ben, that you've sort of raised something for me because I've been working on the panel for the BS 887 for luminaires for the last year or so, and it's the whole thing is about reliability of your remanufacturing process, and it's comfort for the end user to say. So if you say to them, we comply with BS 887, and you know that you're going to get something good. Whereas we suspect that there will be people out there doing retrofits who shouldn't be doing retrofits.
It always
Yeah.
makes me think of the T8, T5 Eco lamp adapters that came out, and slightly extended, flat on the end. And
Yes.
I remember going to a job where someone had those, and overnight 9 failed within
Yeah.
24 hours. And I think there's always these pitch lines. You can make things sound great, but then in practice, there's so much that needs to go on behind it to ensure that it works properly. And I think the problem is people can get bought in by, well, it's going to save me 50%. Why wouldn't I do it? Well, if you're constantly replacing them and all this sort
Yeah.
of good stuff, it's
Where did
not
that fifty
worthwhile.
percent go? Yeah. Okay. That's a note I think that we finish on because there is stuff going on behind the scenes, and it's the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that our good friends at Inventronics are supporting you with, and that's what the client, in a way, never sees,
Yeah.
but never has to worry about because the damn thing works and works and works and works. Everyone, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Mark, for your time, and also Ben, thank you for yours. And
Thank you,
I
fellas.
guess we're no doubt again to put a timestamp on this thing. We're going to be at Light 23 later on in November, but this particular conversation is going to last an awful lot longer than that. So if you weren't at Light 23, we missed you. If you were at Light 23, it was good to see you. And we'll see you all out there. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye bye.